It's like, it feels like a real SUV. A lot of SUVs in today's market are unibody and have independent front and rear suspension, which is fine. It makes it so they handle a little bit better. It makes it so they have nice smooth ride quality. But this, with the Fox shocks and the big beefy tires, has a really smooth, nice ride to it. Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, I'm going to be reviewing my wife's brand new 2022 Toyota 4Runner TRD Pro. This is going to be kind of like a normal Ben Hardy review, but I'm also going to be explaining why we picked the 4Runner over other vehicles as a family vehicle. With that being said, as always, if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. Let's get into the video. So under the hood, we have a naturally aspirated 4-liter V6. Goes for a 5-speed automatic transmission. It is good for 270 horsepower and then 278 pound-feet of torque, with fuel economy being 16 around town and then 19 on the highway. This is obviously a pretty ancient engine, but it is extremely reliable, which I think is very important as a family car so you don't get broken down on the side of the road. Now let's go to the front end of the TRD Pro. First off, you've got this blacked out hood scoop, which looks pretty cool, especially in contrast to the white on this one. Super bright headlights. Again, not the most modern, but it looks really cool, I think, to this day. And then you guys can see the fog lights down below. I love how you've got the Heritage Toyota logo here in the center. Just looks so much cooler than the circular badge. Notice we've got the little camera there below that. And you guys can see how the front bumper is sculpted to help out with approach angle. And then we also have the TRD skid plate underneath here with the Pro tow hooks there on the front end. 9.6 inches of ground clearance, which, you know, you don't necessarily need that for a family car, but you guys know I'm an off-road enthusiast and I will take this off-roading from time to time. But on top of that, in crazy winter conditions, this will be able to handle everything. It won't have to worry about this getting stuck in the snow or anything, because it's got more than enough clearance to go through deep snow, and it's got the tires to be able to handle it too, and we'll get into those in a second. Now, popping around the side here, in terms of the specs on the tires and wheels, it's 265, 70, 17 on the front and in the rear, which means that we have wheels that are perfect for off-roading because, well, 17s are like the best ever. And then we've got quite a bit of sidewall here with these tires, which is great for off-roading, and it's also great for on-road ride comfort as well. And then you guys can see here with the TRD tuned shocks and suspension. They are Fox shocks that come with the TRD Pros. You guys can see right there how it says Fox is kind of hidden, but damping on these shocks is fantastic. We've got the splash guards that also come with the TRD Pro, and then notice here with like all the contrast between the different black elements here with the white, I think it looks really good. Usually not a fan of white vehicles because, again, it's kind of like plain Jane, but I think here with the TRD Pro, and again with like the black rack there at the top, I think it works really, really well. So here is the key fob for the TRD Pro. You've got your unlock function, your lock function. If you spam the lock button a bunch of times and hold it down, then, well, it'll do the remote start function. You can also do that via an app. You've got these buttons right here. They're itty bitty by the 4Runner logo, and those actually lower down the rear window here because it's automatic. Now the hatch is hydraulic, and you guys can see another big benefit here, and notice that it's already been used in the back, and that is the storage capacity of the 4Runner. It is a very large SUV, and this one obviously doesn't have a third row, but tons of storage space for camping trips or Costco runs, frankly. And then you have an outlet here in the back that is also very practical, and I found that you've got this little strap here for short people, but us regular folks just use this little thing right there and then basically just throw that down. But that's that part, and then finishing things up with the rest of the rear. I find it interesting that this badge here in the back is chrome because like everything else is blacked out. It's kind of just I don't know, it's kind of interesting it's there. And this TRD Pro badge there, and then these taillights, again, they aren't the most modern, but they still look pretty cool to this day. Now the rack there at the top, obviously you could use that for like the storage of a tent or whatever, but like there's just so much utility with it, and it's cool that it is a factory option, so you don't have to feel bad about like drilling holes in your roof or anything like that. Also have the TRD Pro exhaust here on the bottom, which definitely sounds great, and it has a tow package if you ever want to do some towing with it with a smaller trailer, obviously. But there's the rear. Now popping inside here, you guys can see we've got black everywhere pretty much. You do have some red stitching though throughout, but the thing that I love about this interior is it's very easy to clean off. When I took a electric lime green TRD Pro off-road earlier this year and got the interior kind of sandy, it took me like 2 seconds to clean everything off because, again, easy clean seats, which is great for off-roading and also great for little kiddos. Now, stepping in, the one thing that's annoying is we don't have any grab handles here on the side, so I will say that's a little bit of a downside, but tons of room here. So, like, you guys can see those storage pockets, but like for a car seat and all that, like you've got plenty of space. We could fit a car seat and you can fit someone in front of that seat. Vents here for the back, and then you guys can see with the USB ports, and of course we've got like a gigantic cup holder armrest situation. I guess the owner's manual there from the Twit and Murray is sitting in the back now because Elise moved it. Anyways, let's head to the front. Now here is the front door panel. You guys can see here with all of the padding just like the rear. Notice that all of the windows are automatic, which is really cool. Blind spot monitoring, which is a nice bit of safety tech. And then notice here with these seats how it says TRD. Apparently you need to make sure you always lock your vehicle because people lately have been stealing these headrests that say TRD on them. Yeah, just have found that out. Anyways, you guys can see here with the stitching on the side, and then notice the power adjustments. And then see, pretty normal pedal layout. I love how you've got rubber floor mats from the factory, which have the cool little like tire tread marks on them. But again, that's practical for off-roading and then also like snow and all that kind of stuff. And then this turn on the outlet, that's for the camera view, the mirror adjustment, and let's pop in. Now here is the steering wheel for the TRD Pro. You guys can see here with the padding all around. Again, not the most luxurious, but it's definitely going to hold up really well over time. This does actually have adaptive cruise control. You do have like the lane departure assistance as well. Some controls for the center stack, voice command, volume controls, phone controls, all that. Turn signal light stock, windshield wiper stock, and there's the steering wheel. Now here is the center gauge clutch. You guys can see we've got mostly analog gauges. You do have a screen there in the center, which will show you different bits of info. You guys can see what Elise is averaging so far, but again, she's only driven at 126 miles, so not really enough time to get a super accurate reading. I love this with the tire pressure, and then also you can see the steering angle as well. But yeah, that's the center. Funny, there's like a little clock there. Anyways, coming down to the infotainment system, if we pop it into reverse, you can see we've got a backup camera with trajectory lines that do turn with the steering wheel. Got the bird's eye view as well. Now, the resolution on this camera system, let's be honest, is not the greatest. That being said, though, it is usable. Like, again, it doesn't look the best, but you can at least see stuff with the camera system. Now, as for the infotainment system, it's kind of like a similar story. It's not the most modern looking infotainment system, but response time when you press buttons on the screen is really solid. And I feel like it's actually pretty nicely integrated into the dash, and I love how everything feels so like sturdy inside here. But anyways, there's that portion. We've got dual zone climate controls, which dual zone climate's very important for keeping a marriage intact, because women always want the temperature to be higher and men always want the temperature to be lower, it seems. So definitely a nice feature. And then you guys can see here with the charging port area, and then notice here with the little cup holder, which is kind of in a weird place. And something that I really like about the 4Runner is it has like a more traditional driveline select here with the 4-wheel drive system. So it is in 2-wheel drive right now, which is obviously gonna be best for fuel economy. But if, you know, the conditions got kind of wonky, that's how easy it is to get in 4-wheel drive. Like, super easy, super foolproof, and so like even someone who's not a car person can easily figure that out and use it. 4-wheel low, obviously a little bit more. You have to put it in this in neutral, and then you have to put this over neutral, and then put it in 4-wheel low. It's still super easy, but yeah, like, I don't know. I like the setup, and then the shifter for the 5-speed automatic again feels really sturdy. And then, yeah, even though it's just plastic, it's got the carbon fiber print on it, which is pretty cool. And then we do have heated seats for the front. No cooled seats though, obviously, because, well, there's no perforations. And got the window that goes down in the back, which is just, I don't know, cool feature. And then you guys can see here with the center console, it's massive, so you can fit a bunch of stuff, including, I guess, Kleenex. And look at this, this cup holder is actually getting used. Glove box is also very large as well. And then again, you notice that the material used throughout is not the nicest, but this is all gonna be like the same in terms of what it looks like in 300,000 miles. And then up top, we do have a sunroof here. And then you guys can see we've got a rear locker, which comes with the TRD Pro package. We got our 8-track system, stability control, and then you guys can see here with the universal garage door openers. And then we've got like our crawl control here, and then the multi-terrain select for off-roading, which I've used both of the systems, and frankly, they're both really cool because of how they like modulate everything, but I found that I really just have to have the 4Runner, like when I'm crawling and stuff, just in 4-wheel low, axle locked, and then it does everything. It's a pretty solid system, does everything for you. Now here's a window sticker before we take it out and drive it. And something that I like about Toyotas, especially like the 4Runners, is that everything is pretty much like standard equipment, as you can see. So notice that the only option is, I guess, the little USBs here in the front, and then obviously destination. Anyways, total MSRP $54,264. Let's drive it. Let's talk about visibility before we set off. Here's your visibility of the hood. Both the mirrors do have blind spot monitoring, and throughout the rest of the rear. And let's set off. So let's set off in the wife's 4Runner and talk about how this drives, and kind of, you know, cap things off with explaining why we decided to go with this one for the time being. And like I said in the delivery video, we do have another vehicle on order, which was the vehicle that she ended up initially choosing. But maybe after driving this for the next 4 months until that vehicle comes in, maybe she decides that she wants to keep this instead. We will see. But first off, for me personally, I love how the 4Runner drives. After I had one of these as a press car, I completely fell in love with it from an on-road and off-road perspective. The on-road driving is amazing because like it feels like a real SUV. A lot of SUVs in today's market are unibody and have independent front and rear suspension, which is fine. It makes it so they handle a little bit better. It makes it so they have nice smooth ride quality. But this, with the Fox shocks and the big beefy tires, has a really smooth, nice ride to it. And on top of that, it just has this big substantial feel. Again, like I feel like I'm driving a real vehicle. It feels pretty much like a tank. Now, one downside about the 4Runner is this, and that's the acceleration. It is not quick, but this road right here is 50 miles an hour, and this is probably about as quick as this 4Runner is ever going to need to go on like a day-to-day basis, like 99% of the time, because Elise doesn't do a bunch of highway commuting like I do. She's just around town. So this is more than enough power for her around town driving. Fuel economy, that's another slight downside, but again, the upside is if we did for some reason decide to keep this, it's gonna last forever. Like, you can put a bajillion miles on it and it's still going to run super strong. Oh, it's my neighbor with their Heritage, I think it's a Heritage Edition Land Cruiser with a cool front bumper. Now, other things, seat comfort's really good with the 4Runner. You've got this nice commanding view. It's just like a comfortable cabin overall. And again, everything just has this durable feel to it that I really like. And again, I love the sound. This 4-liter just sounds so good. And for a V6, like this is one of the only V6s that I like. There's a few that I like, and this is there. Other stuff, like I said earlier in the walk around, like the fact that it's so easy to use the 4-wheel drive system, I think is great. And then me as an off-road enthusiast, I love how this drives off-road. This, frankly, is my favorite off-road vehicle. I know it sounds crazy because I own a Ford Raptor, I own a Jeep Wrangler, and a Ram TRX as well. But the reason I like this off-road so much is with the independent front suspension, it's really smooth on like rough terrain. But because of the size this is, it still can fit down a lot of really narrow trails and do quite a bit of stuff that like the Raptor and the TRX just can't do because they're just so big, because they're full-size pickup trucks. And the Jeep Wrangler having a solid front axle, yeah. And you know, some people might comment, oh, Ford Bronco. Yes, but the Ford Bronco doesn't have the daily drivability that this has, because the Ford Bronco, ultimately, you can still take apart half of the vehicle, right? You can take the doors off, the top off, and so it's a lot quieter, especially even at like 30-40 miles an hour. It's pretty loud from the wind noise and all that. Whereas this, again, it's a real vehicle. When I say real vehicle, it's like you can't take off the roof, right? You can't take off the doors. I mean, you could, but like, you guys get what I'm saying. Now, some other comments I got was like on crash test rating with 4Runners, it's not that great. Here's the deal. I see that crash test ratings for like big vehicles like this are never great, but then I see like real life crashes with vehicles like this, and they will be like scratch on the bumper, and then the other car will be completely totaled that apparently has like a 5-star rating. And so I'm not saying the crash test ratings are not accurate, but what I am saying is that there's more to it than it seems, because again, like just go look on Instagram or like anywhere, Google, like, and you see like all these like videos of like these little cars and everything, again with 5-star ratings, that then get into a collision with a pickup truck, and the pickup truck has a horrible rating. It wins at the end of the day in terms of like not being destroyed and the driver being completely fine. So yeah, that's kind of, go do your own research on that. That's just based on what I've seen. And so like I don't feel uncomfortable with this, because again, it's such a large vehicle, so I feel like, and it's sturdy too, right? It's it's a Toyota, it's very well built. And then aside from that, like I think it looks great. Resale value obviously is amazing on these, and so even if you put a ton of miles on it, it's still worth a ton of money. And so it's a vehicle you can buy and not lose a bunch of money. It's super inexpensive to maintain because, again, Toyotas are so reliable. And so I feel like overall, like if as long as you don't have like a huge family, like if it's just 2 to 4 people, this is an amazing family car, right? I really do stand by that. And I think it's probably one of the best family cars out there. And not necessarily the TRD Pro, just the 4Runner in general, right? Because of all the things I mentioned, the resale value, the reliability, the size, the storage space, everything. There's just a lot to love about it. Let me know what you guys think, and that's all. That's going to sum things up for this video on my new 2022 4Runner TRD Pro. With that being said, I'll see all of you in the next video.